make NordVPN a part of your online security plan. Head on over to nordvpn.com/show right now to get a huge discount on a 2-year plan. Even get a bonus gift of 4 additional months free when you sign up today. And it's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Then we should definitely talk about the massive news that a Texas doctor reportedly performed an abortion in violation of the state's new restrictive law. It bans the procedure after 6 weeks, which is before most people know that they're pregnant. And we've talked in depth about this law. It's one of the most restrictive in the country. It doesn't have exceptions for rape or incest. It also allows civilians to sue anyone who helps someone receive an abortion after 6 weeks. But one of the key things here is this doctor wasn't like outed through a tip line or someone exposed him. The Texas doctor actually revealed this in an op-ed that was published in the Washington Post over the weekend. In this op-ed, Dr. Alan Brady, who's been practicing as an OBGYN in Texas for 45 years, said that just days after the law took effect, he gave an abortion to a woman who was still in her first trimester but already beyond the state's new limit. In writing, I asked him because I had a duty of care to this patient, as I do for all patients, and because she has a fundamental right to receive this care. And also adding, I fully understand that there could be legal consequences, but I wanted to make sure that Texas didn't get away with its bid to prevent this blatantly unconstitutional law from being tested. Or with him going on to say that he understands he's taking a personal risk, but concluding, I have daughters, granddaughters, and nieces. I believe abortion is an essential part of healthcare. I've spent the past 50 years treating and helping patients. I can't just sit back and watch us return to 1972. And this whole story is notable for a few reasons. I mean, starting with, under the law, any citizen can now sue Braid, and if they do, it could be the first test case under the law. But also, despite all their threats to enforce the law, it's unclear if anti-abortion groups will follow through here. Texas Right to Life, which set up a website to report people suspected of violating the ban, saying in a statement that they're looking into Braid's claims, but adding, definitely seems like a legal stunt, and we are looking into whether it is more than that. But also, even if abortion opponents hold off on Braid's case, there's another challenge to the Texas law that could potentially hold it up. And shortly after the law took effect, with the Department of Justice filing a lawsuit attempting to stop it. Just last week, the agency filed an emergency motion asking a federal judge in the state to temporarily block the ban while that legal battle plays out, with a hearing for that motion set for October 1st. So that is the next thing that we're going to be watching for, because regardless of what side the federal judge rules for, the other side is basically 100% insured to sue, and this fight could take the question to the Supreme Court in a matter of months. And then we should definitely talk about the situation happening at the U.S.-Mexico border right now. Right, so some quick background here. Large numbers of Haitians have been coming to the U.S. from South America for years, but those numbers have massively increased in recent months as the humanitarian situation in the country continues to deteriorate, with the situation escalating dramatically over the last week amid a massive surge in migration that has overwhelmed Border Patrol. That prompting officials to hold the migrants, most of whom were from Haiti, in a temporary staging area under a bridge in Del Rio, Texas, where they set up a makeshift camp. According to reports, it's unclear how the camp amassed so many people so quickly, with it reportedly going from a few hundred last week to more than 14,000 this weekend, with the camp quickly garnering a ton of attention as pictures and videos went viral showing thousands living in cramped, dirty conditions, many sleeping on the ground with little or no access to food, water, or bathrooms in triple-digit heat. That, unsurprisingly, drawing a ton of backlash against the Biden administration's handling of the border crisis, including many Republicans who slammed the president for not deporting more people. So on Friday, what we saw was administration officials announcing that they would begin deporting the Haitians gathered at the camp. And yesterday, we saw the first group of 300 migrants sent back to Haiti on free plane, what the AP described as the beginning of what could be one of America's swiftest large-scale expulsions of migrants or refugees in decades. With the head of Haiti's National Migration Office saying that authorities in the country expect that about 14,000 Haitians will be expelled from the U.S. in the next 3 weeks. Notably adding the Haitian state is not really able to receive these deportees. But also, it's not just deportations. The administration also began to crack down on border crossing. U.S. Customs and Border Protection now closing off vehicle and foot traffic at the border between Del Rio and Mexico. We've also seen very troubling reports of Border Patrol agents on horseback cracking whips at people crossing the Rio Grande River, telling them to go back to Mexico. And so with this whole situation, you now have the Biden administration facing pressure from all sides. Right, yes, you have a ton of people calling for more deportations, but also you have people in Haiti and the U.S. calling for the suspension of deportations, with many of that latter group noting that Biden has pledged to take a more humanitarian approach to immigration than Trump, but these deportations are similar to something that we'd see under the previous administration, with one of the Haitians who was deported yesterday telling reporters, if Biden continues with these deportations, he's no better than Trump. I'm afraid for my safety here. I don't even know this country anymore. Other critics also saying that the deportation of Haitians was especially contradictory, noting that as recently as May, the Biden administration granted temporary protective status to tens of thousands of undocumented Haitians, with officials then citing serious security concerns, social unrest, an increase in human rights abuses, crippling poverty, and the lack of basic resources in the country. And actually, since then, things have only gotten worse in Haiti. Haiti's still suffering unrest and the unresolved assassination of its president back in July. Also, there was an earthquake that killed 2,200 people and destroyed tens of thousands of homes and other buildings, leaving thousands of homeless. But the government was already on the verge of collapse there as the internal power struggle continuing to play out, with the situation escalating even more last week after the country's top prosecutor said that there was evidence evidence linking the sitting prime minister to the assassination. But now, with all of that said, the question I want to pass off to you is, what are your thoughts with what's happening at the border? Or do you see these deportations from the Biden administration as, yes, that's what you want to see, or no, it's a failure of the administration? Really, any and all thoughts you have here, your reasoning, I'd love to hear from you. Then, in absolutely shocking news, it turns out you can't trust the Taliban. Who could have guessed except everybody? And specifically, what I'm mentioning is that 1 month ago, the Taliban vowed to respect women's rights, including their ability to attend school and work. Right? Wow, this is the Taliban 2.0. They have members that use the hashtag I'm with her, and they wear pussy hats. And then, shocker, on Friday, you had the Taliban shutting down the Ministry of Women's Affairs and adding a ministry for the propagation of virtue and the prevention of vice. Also, just a day after the Ministry of Women's Affairs was shut down, Taliban ministers ordered male teachers and students back to secondary school, failing to mention female educators and students at all, leading them to stay at home over fears of reprisal. Then, as of this morning, the acting mayor of Kabul saying that nearly every municipal city job held by women would be refilled by men, with only female restroom attendants and women who had very specific technical skills being allowed to stay on. Although notably, with that last group of likely just until men would be educated to take over. No, to be clear.
see with the lag.
Beautiful. Now get the news that COVID vaccine causes the problem.